Hello, my name is Shannon Hicks, and I'm a first-year high school special education teacher. As a special educator, I believe I play a supporting role in a wide range of ways. I believe that all students are capable of learning, and I'm able to teach my students that no matter what their differences are, whether it be language, culture, or socioeconomic status, it is very much possible. Every student is different in more ways than one. What one student needs to succeed in the classroom may not work for the next student. They all learn differently from one another. However, they are all capable of learning. Finding what each student's hobbies or interests are and finding new and creative ways to motivate and accommodate them will lead to a progressively positive learning experience for all students. I believe that highly effective teachers are in a constant state of learning, always improving their skills and teaching techniques, along with building relationships, finding ways to help students make connections, and actually engaging students in the classroom. Teachers who possess these qualities will enable their students to improve their learning development. I believe that I am a role model for my students. Encouraging students to acquire a new level of understanding of what they are learning and making connections gives them the opportunity to learn how to work independently and in groups. I like to simulate real-world projects into my classroom because it brings about a completely different level of thinking and problem solving. I believe giving my students options and choices is important to inspire creative minds. I hold myself to a high standard of learning and now teaching as well. I take my students' success and failures personally because it reflects who I am as a special education teacher. I like to think of myself as a leader in some aspects where I feel I have excelled. However, I actively seek out opportunities for professional growth because being a teacher is a constant state of learning, just as I mentioned before. Being that I am currently in my first year of teaching, I have learned a great deal. I learned surprisingly that I have some strengths, and I knew I would have some weaknesses. My biggest strength is building relationships with my students. I usually do this by going to football games, basketball games, or any other sports that my students may play. If they're not into sports, I'll go to their orchestra concerts, plays, art shows, or whatever I can find that they are interested in. I find a way to build that relationship. I find it challenging but very rewarding. There are a number of things that I feel I need to work on to become a more successful teacher. I mentioned earlier that I have high expectations for myself. However, I really do need to learn to better create high expectations for my students as well. I was not sure what my students' levels of learning were going to be and what they were capable of accomplishing, so that was my first mistake because I realized that I could set high expectations for all of my students as long as I made those expectations realistically achievable. High expectations should be given to all students, no matter what their learning needs or disabilities are, because everyone is capable of learning. I have a rule of thumb that every day is a new day. Whatever happened yesterday stays there. I like to describe this with a scene from The Lion King. The monkey hits the young lion over the head, and when the young lion asks him why he did that, the monkey says, "Doesn't matter, it was in the past." With that said, personal bias can have a huge impact on the expectations that teachers have on students. Some teachers automatically place judgment on students that they have heard of from past teachers, or think they know how a student is going to act or be because they have had their older sibling. It doesn't work out like that in the real world, and students can tell when they are being judged by others' actions. It is important to reflect on students' behaviors and ask yourself why they are acting that way. In conclusion, we live in a world of diversity where no two human beings are exactly the same. We should be kind with our words and mindful of our thoughts. We have no idea what our students are battling outside of the classroom, and we want them to learn to love learning.